Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Best Today podcast. I'm Shantae Grant, your host. And today I want to share with you a milestone that I just recently celebrated and talk to you about a few things, 7 to be exact. So in September of 2022, last month, I reached a unique milestone. I have officially been a full-time entrepreneur longer than I was a full-time attorney. I left the practice of law in September 2015. And so after 2 years of being a law clerk and almost 5 years of being a litigator, that was 7 years. And September of 2022 made 7 years of not doing so. And so the day after, I have been an entrepreneur longer than a business owner longer than an attorney. And so this podcast, which is actually over 5 years old, this podcast started out as the Business Life and Joy podcast. So if you go all the way back down from wherever you're listening right now, you will find old episodes of the Business Life and Joy podcast. And then again, this became the Best Today podcast after we did 200 episodes of the Best Business Life and Joy podcast. But this podcast over the last 5 years plus has held a lot of the lessons that I've learned over the last, clearly the last 5 years, but really lessons I've learned over the last 7 and beyond. But I thought it would be really fun to take a moment to honor these 7 years and share 7 lessons or 7 things with you that really came top of mind. And this was really easy. I just literally sat down and started typing and stopped when I had 7. I could have kept going, but these are the 7 things that I wanted to reflect on and share with you as I think about what these last 7 years have taught me and what I'm living out. And so some of them you will have likely heard before if you've been in my world. So let's just get straight to them. 7 things in no particular order that I want to share with you as I celebrate 7 years since I left the practice of law. Number 1, you can change. You can change. I talk about this in so many episodes, but one in particular that comes to mind is episode 19, where I share 5 truths with you. And one of those is that you can change, you can evolve, you have the power to change. I think that's so important. It's one of our, if not our greatest human superpower, is that we have the power to change and evolve. Myleik Teele says often, I hope you change, change for the betterment of your life, change for your well-being. And here's the thing about change. It is usually uncomfortable and scary. The fear of the unknown is a real thing. But here's what I also know to be true. I would rather honor myself and my life in the uncomfortable over dishonoring myself in comfort or being miserable in comfort, right? So I'd rather be uncomfortable while honoring myself than being comfortable while dishonoring myself or being miserable or being unhealthy, right? And just because something feels comfortable. And sometimes what feels comfortable is you being the frog in the boiling water. And I talk about that in episode 40. So tap back to episode 40 if you've not listened to that. And if you're not familiar with the parable of the story of the frog in the water. And that's where, you've become comfortable in something that is harming you. But because that's what it was slowly warmed up, right? You're sitting in that boiling water, but to you don't realize that you're being cooked, right? You've become comfortable with what isn't for you, for your good. Maybe it was something that was for you in a different season that you're no longer in, and you just stayed there because it fit, quote unquote, right? And so I just want to remind you that you can change, and that means whatever, right? You can change your mind. You can change your thoughts on a particular issue or matter. You can change your profession. You can change your eating habits. You can change your environment. You can change. Now, I want to be clear that these words are not to be mistaken with you can change and it will be easy and everything will work out the first time, but you can change. As I think about, in particular, since we're talking about, this 7-year milestone, it was scary to walk away from something that I spent 7 years of school. If you think of 4 years of college, 3 years of law school, right? A 3-day exam that I had to study for months. The South Carolina bar is 3 days, which is different from most states, which is only 2 days. So it's a different kind of torture. It was scary to try to build a business with 0 business classes, like not one ever taken in college or law school. But yeah, it was scary, but that leads me to number two, which number two is I am a sure bet. That is something I have learned. I am a sure bet. Anyone who puts their money on me, their time on me, their resources on me, or puts me on their team or gets on my team, you are automatically on the winning side, period. Even when it looks like we're losing. The confidence is what you will also gain on the other side of your discomfort, which makes it worth it. I am typically a pretty risk averse person in many ways. I like a plan. I like knowing what's ahead. But if there is one human I will put all my money on and all the risk, it is betting on myself. Can you say that about you? And if not, why not? And what would need to happen for this to be true of you that you can say to yourself, I am a sure bet. I can rely on myself to fully always come through at the end of the day. Can you fully depend on you to do what is needed to win? And that means whatever definition of winning is to you, right? The second thing I have learned, and that I kind of already knew, is I'm a sure bet. Number three is a big one, and it all starts in your mind. It all starts in your mind. A lesson I have learned is how important our mind is. Our minds are. That's why mental wellness is so important, and people are finally waking up to that. Our minds is what controls everything else. This is why I always say that I have to get into your head before I can get into your hands. People are like, can you tell me how to do? And I'm like, I can, but me telling you how will mean nothing. I have to help you change your mind first. I have to help you change your mind before I can help you change your behavior. I can't help you do something different until I help you think differently. And a huge part of my health and my well-being is from changing my mind and the way that I think about a lot of things, the way I speak to myself, the way I allow myself to be human. And I talk about that in episode 83 from last month on humanity over grace, where I allow myself to be a human. And because that's how I think, it reflects in the kindness and the love I have for myself, for me always doing my best and understanding where those efforts may fall short and moving forward. It gives you the opportunity to live a life of peace and joy. And if that sounds like something you want, which you're listening to this episode, to this podcast, I know it is, another great episode that I want you to write down is episode 57, where I give you the language to help you change the conversation that you have with yourself from one of typically negativity to how to have healthy internal dialogue with yourself. As a man or woman thinks, so is he or she. As you think, that is how you are. And that is fact. I have too much lived experience to argue about that being a true statement. So if there are things that you have wanted to change, and you have the capacity to do them, and you're aware that this is what you want, I want to invite you to think about what's going on in your mind. I want you to start there. What are the thoughts and stories that you're telling yourself? This is a good place to hit the rewind on this episode and go back and listen to the things I just said under number 3 and the questions I posed, even in number 2 as well, because it really does all start in the mind. A lot of times when people ask me questions, that's what my questions back to you are, to help me understand what you think, or to help you start the process of understanding that the way you think is why you're unable to do the thing you are saying, or why you're doing the thing you say you no longer want to do. Okay, that's number 3. It starts in the mind. That could be a whole episode by itself. At Best Today, we exist to help women just like you be your best one today at a time. So each week on the podcast, we are going to highlight your stories and your voices. So let's see what's in the inbox today. This week, we have a 5-star review of the weekly preview planning pads from Jessica Norrell, who writes, first, let's put her title, must have for weekly organization, ! I cannot live without this tool. every Sunday, I review the Clear Your Mind section from the previous week, see what I need to move over, and plan my week. I love the ability to see my week all at once. This tool truly gives me clarity and visibility over my week. Jessica, that makes me so excited. That's exactly how I envisioned it to be used, and that is weekly to help you to clear your mind and then carry over from one week to the next those things that need to be. So congratulations on having and using this tool to help you keep peace of mind, not only at the top of your week, but throughout the week. You can read Jessica's 5-star reviews as well as other reviews by going to besttoday.co and order your weekly preview planning pad. Say that 3 times fast. Right now by going to besttoday.co. It is under the shop all and the planning. If you go to shop, you'll see planning and routine. It can be found there or under shop all. Again, thank you so much, Jessica, for that 5-star review. Really, really excited. If you're not previewing your week, go right now, run those fingers over to besttoday.co. Number 4, experience is one of my favorite teachers. You know, I mentioned that I had 0 formal business training, although I'll also say sometimes experience is also one of my least favorite teachers. But, you know, I've since taken business programs and I'm currently enrolled in the Goldman Sachs business program right now, but really it's experience that has taught me more than any classroom ever could. It's so funny. I know that to be true because I find myself speaking to people who have all of the education and I'm telling them my ideas and my thoughts and the reasoning and the strategy behind why I do that. And they're like, oh, that's called this. In business school, you learn this, or that's called this. In psychology, we know this. And I'm like, oh, there's a name for this thing that I do. I'm doing the thing that you're being taught how to do, but I'm doing it because experience has shown me that that's why I want to do this way. And so I've lived the thing that you're learning in a textbook, but through experience. So I found that experience just gives me so much. And that's another reason for you to get out of your comfort. You're going to get experience. You're going to get confidence. These things we've been talking about. You know, experience has taught me more than any classroom. And you know where that experience comes from? Discomfort. So here we are again, back at that. Healthy discomfort can truly change your life. And I am living proof. So that is my number 4. Number 5, the 5th thing that came to my mind is we have far more control than we think. The world doesn't want you to know how powerful you are, how much control you have, and that the greatest thing that you have control over is yourself. You have control over the you that you bring to every situation you face. I know I've said that on this podcast at least a dozen times. It's really huge to understand that. We underestimate the control and the power we have, and we blame so many external factors. And do not get me wrong, there are some external factors that are very valid. Hello, racism, sexism, classism, and a whole list of other isms. Yet and still, you also have control over the you that you bring to your day every single day. That in itself is a full-time job. But it helps us to be better humans, better parents, better spouses, better daughters, better sons, better friends, better employees, better employers, and the list goes on. Understanding that you have more control than you think. You are powerful. And the trick is most things in this world want to make you believe the opposite. So the most powerful people are the people who understand that they are the most powerful people. And again, that goes back to it starts in the mind. Oh, I didn't even notice all this relate. Oh, so good. Number 6, I am not what I do. I am not what I do. I bring who I am into what I do. I've talked about this so many times and said it with so many different words, but this is the way it came out as I was sitting here thinking, I am not what I do. I bring who I am into what I do. And really, I could just stop with that statement, those 2 sentences, but I'll say a few more things. You know, I've shared before that I was once so tied to the title of being a lawyer and attorney that even when I left the practice, I would introduce myself at business functions, right? As, oh, I was a lawyer. And then I, elaborate on what I do now. Even when that information wasn't relevant, it's still a part of my story. So I don't mind sharing that. But it's not who I am. And neither is podcast host, speaker, founder, business owner, CEO, whatever other words you want to give me, mother. I am Shantae. I'm Shantae. I'm a woman who is valuable, loved, loving, who loves fall as I look out the window and watch the trees rustle right now. And just feel so grateful. I'm a woman who's grateful to feel alive, to be alive, to look out of the window and see the trees rustling. One, because I'm in an office. I get my own office space that I picked. I picked my office to be in the place that allowed me to look out the window and see the trees. I love the work that I do so much. But I am so much more than that. It's not who I am. I bring who I am into what I do. And that's what makes the work amazing, right? You aren't what you do either. You bring who you are into what you do, your work, your relationships, and the list goes on. And that's what makes them so special. Make no mistake in thinking that the magic is in the thing, because it's not. The magic is in you. And that's something I want you to know. You're not what you do. You bring who you are into what you do, and any good that comes from it, that's where it comes from. Not in the thing, but in you. And number 7, I am worth the effort it takes to live a life of intention. And so are you. You know, to sustain yourself and other people and businesses for 7 years straight. I've technically had 3 businesses in the last 7 years. It's not easy. There have been hard moments and so many breathtaking, amazing moments, far more than the hard, actually. It's taken effort to live a life of intention and joy. And clearly, I didn't start off that way. I had to learn some lessons to get here, but I'm grateful because now I get to teach them to you so you can maybe avoid some of those pitfalls, right? But the effort it's taken, I think one of the reasons why even now, when I hit those moments that require a lot of effort, I have to remind myself that I'm worth it. And so are you. So when you're in my ecosystem, that this best today world that I have created, whether it's by listening to this podcast in my audience, when I'm speaking in our community. If you're not in our community, you can download the Best Today app by going to besttodaycommunity.com. Get in our community, in our app. It's the best place to be for those who want to live a life of intention. Whether you're on our Instagram page, you know, I want you to feel the words I'm saying. And what you're going to notice is, man, what she's saying is actually going to require some effort and some work and maybe some thinking differently. And that's work. And it's uncomfortable. And you're right. All that is true. But the good news is you are worth the effort. You are worth the effort. And those are the 7 things that literally I sat down and said, what 7 things I want to share? And these just rolled right off of my fingers as I typed them down. I would love to hear which of these 7 resonated deeply with you. Let me know. Again, join our app, our community, the Best Today community, by going to besttodaycommunity.com. You can also text us 404-737-1002. We'll be happy to send you the link, but it's besttodaycommunity.com. Your first 3 days are free, so join us completely risk-free. Let's go over those 7 things again, and then I will let you go listen to some of the mini episodes I just told you to go back and listen to. Number 1, you can change. Number 2, I'm a sure bet. Number 3, it all starts in your mind. Number 4, experience is one of my favorite teachers. Number 5, we have more control than we think. The world doesn't want you to know how powerful you are. Number 6, I am not what I do. I bring who I am into what I do. And that's what makes it so amazing. And number 7, I am worth the effort it takes to live a life of intention. And so are you. Thank you for being present with me for this week's episode of the Best Today podcast. Until next time, remember that you are capable and worthy of being your best one today at a time. And you already have everything you need to have everything you want. So go on and shout it out as you live it out. This is what my best today looks like. I'll talk to you on the next episode. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Best Today podcast, you are going to love the Best Today guide. Our Better Than a Planner guide teaches you how to get clear on what you want, identify your self-destructive habits and behaviors, and intentionally create space to prioritize yourself every single day. Don't go the journey to being your best one today at a time without the Best Today guide. See inside its pages and order yours today at besttodayguide.com. Even better, When you order the Best Today Guide, we gift you with your first month free inside of the Best Today membership. So what are you waiting for? We're giving you everything you need to trade busy for intention. Go to besttodayguide.com and order yours today and join thousands of women across the globe proclaiming each day, this is what my best today looks like.